What? You can't just slide that hot take in.
Welcome to Groovy Movies. My name is Lily Austin.
And my name's James Brailsford. Hello.
Hello. James, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Looking forward to our packed show today. We've got a lot to discuss, I think.
We do indeed. We're going to be talking about heist movies, why we love them, how films like Kelly Reichardt's new release, The Mastermind, are reworking the genre, and whether heist movies are inspired by life or is life inspired by the heist movie.
We're breaking. And of course, this past weekend was Halloween. But it's also the 50th anniversary Rocky Horror Picture Show, so we'll be paying a little tribute, taking a look at that film.
Yes. All right, but first, let's do some film news. James, what's happening in the box office?
Not a great deal at the moment. This particular weekend, not a lot's happening. I'll be honest with you, I forgot it was Halloween. I was at work on Friday at the film school, and I was thinking, why is one of the lecturers got like a big spider attached to them? I was like, oh, it's Halloween. Everyone dresses up. Bar humbug. I'm like the bar humbug for Halloween. So yeah. Anyway,
I need to just interject to say that I could not forget that it was Halloween this week for two reasons. One, I was bitten by a spider this week. I felt something on the back of my neck and was like, Leo, what's this? And he was like, oh, it looks like a tiny vampire has bitten your neck. And I was like, are you kidding me? Is this a spider bite? And we Googled it and it was absolutely a spider bite. I think I was bitten in the night. Horrific. Okay. So traumatizing. And then later this week at work, someone opened the fridge. First of all, I opened the fridge at work to put my lunch in my Tupperware in the top shelf. And then, I kid you not, like 10 seconds later, my colleague opened the fridge, screamed and said, oh my God, there is a dead rat in the fridge. It was like curled up at the very front of the shelf, in the shelf just below my food. So all in all, it's very much spooky season in my life right now.
Okay. Right, it's kind of skipped me by a little bit, I have to be honest. But yeah, and it skipped the box office by, unfortunately. Not really any big spooky film releases, which you'd think this time of year would be perfect season for it. I mean, the thing that doesn't make it, well, I get the logic, but they're re-releasing The Shining in IMAX. I mean, at least they are in the US. I don't know if it comes here. It's like, isn't that like a spooky season film? But I guess because of the snow, people think of it more as a Christmas film.
Do they? Is it coming out at Christmas?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the logic of why you would re-release The Shining in November, not on Halloween.
In November. Gotcha. Well, I read that the expectation is that because, unfortunately, Halloween falls on a Friday this year, which is, the ideal date for people who want to celebrate it, that is going to have a knock-on effect to the box office because people who might have otherwise gone and seen a scary film on the Friday nearest Halloween, they're going to be at a party instead. So that apparently has been a big part of why there hasn't been like a big horror movie release this weekend. But Yorgos Lanthimos' Begonia is out. It's kind of doing like a few cinema release this weekend and then having a broader release next weekend. And I mean, there are some shocks in that movie. I saw it this week and it's quite like inducing. So I'd recommend it for a Halloween viewing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it took $55 million to make, so reasonable budget, and I think latest box office is put it global at $2 million. But it's early days yet. We're recording this on Saturday, so I don't think the Saturday figures will have come in. But the way they're releasing it is a staggered release, so it's clearly they're not expecting it to do massive numbers in its opening weekend. But yeah.
All right, well, we'll swatch that space with this one. So, okay, it's a bit of a slow week box office-wise, but other news in the film world, James, you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah, well, the hottest one at the moment, I think, is that Netflix are circling Warner Brothers about making a serious bid. And how can we tell that? And only recently Netflix went on record. I think it was an earnings call. I think they said that we're not interested in acquiring a big studio. That's not on our horizon. That was a few weeks ago. Now, why might Netflix be telling slight porky pies about their real intentions? Well, if they said we are going to buy Warner Brothers, guess guess what will happen to Warner Brothers' share price? It'll go up, and Netflix will have to pay more money to buy Warner Brothers. So they're just keeping it on the lowdown, you see. But there's you can say as much as you want, but when you've employed I think what it is, they've employed the same lawyers who helped Skydance with their Paramount bid. They're kind of like financial lawyers, so you use these people to get access to another company's financial secrets. All they're kind of like, you don't get to see this unless you either work for the company or you are thinking about buying the company so you can see the real financials. So Netflix are doing that, which means they are very serious about making an offer. This is not like messing around. So suddenly you've got a bidding war. Warner Brothers has now been circled by Skydance, who now own Paramount, which is going to be terrible for the industry because it's going to make a monopoly. Or it could be the first time in the history of streaming that a streamer buys a classic Hollywood studio, and suddenly, when it combines its subscribers from its Netflix and HBO Max, it's going to absolutely cream Disney, absolutely crush Disney. Disney are
I didn't
over.
even know that Warner Brothers was up for sale.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like David Zaslav, who's like what they call, how do they refer? I can't remember the exact phrase, but basically, Wall Street love him. Wall Street loves Zaslav, who's in charge of Warner Brothers. He took over like 4 or 5 years ago because he's a businessman. He's Mr. Let's just write off Batgirl as a tax write-off. Let's just make sure it can never get released, destroy every copy of it. That's him. He's Mr. Slash and Burn. He doesn't care, cutting costs, this, that, and the other. So he kind of came on board with Warner's to kind of get it into better financial shape, I think, to make it as a better proposition to sell.
I see. Okay. So the end game was always to sell it.
Well, I mean, this is me inferring. Like, I don't think he's actually said that out loud. But like, if you just look at his background, the fact that he's a money man more than he's come through the studio system, that he came into, he doesn't have a background in film production, all that kind of stuff. So, the cynic in me is like, that's what's happening here. He came in, cut costs, got it a bit more financially in shape. Now he's flogging it.
Okay. So. Bad news yet again.
I'm sorry.
So I was scrambling around. I was scratching around for something to kind of end on a lighter note for this week's film news. So,
okay, what have you got for me, Lily?
I've got an update on the Beatles biopic, which I don't know if you're excited about, James. I'm like partially excited, partially terrified, because if you guys recall, this is going to be a 4-part movie, and each movie is going to be about a different Beatle. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm a huge Beatles fan all my life, been a massive Beatles fan, and this has got Sam Mendes attached. It's all got very top talent and stuff, it's got every possibility. It's got every chance of being something special. But I don't know, 4 films about every Beatle. And as well, it's IP mining again. It's like, what have we got that's popular that people have heard of? Oh, the Beatles. Let's make 4 films about. I don't know. Yeah, so I'll probably go see one of them, but
yeah, I 1 or 2. We'll see how the first 2 go, and then I feel bad for Ringo Starr. I hope they kind of squeeze him into the middle.
Well,
somewhere.
Yeah, who do you go? Which Beatle do you go with first? Who gets the first movie out? Is it going to be Paul? Like, I'm still here. I'll vote for me.
Yeah. As we know, the cast has already been announced for the 4 Beatles themselves. So Paul Mescal is playing Paul McCartney. Barry Keoghan is playing Ringo Starr, which I think might be a draw because he is such a good actor and he has a bit of a cult following, I think, amongst millennials and Gen Zers. He's quite popular with them. So I think that could appeal. We also have Joseph Quinn playing George Harrison and Harris Dickinson as John Lennon. Yes, there's a lot of crossover here. Paul playing Paul, Harris Dickinson, George Harrison, blah, 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 confusing. Anyway, the latest update is that all of the love interests have been announced. So Anna Sawai is playing Yoko Ono, Amy Lou Wood is going to play Patty Boyd, and Saoirse Ronan is playing Linda McCartney. So this is very much like young rising stars. It's giving St. Elmo's Fire, but for the young Hollywood crop. So the film is slated to be out in 2028. So we've got a bit of time to get to be fed some more information. I think that's where we're at now. The production hasn't even begun, so we've got a bit of a while to wait. But the cast at least sounds very promising.
Yeah, and I'm hoping it gets. I'm pretty sure I heard a rumor it's going to be shot entirely in IMAX, and I hope they do film IMAX with those nice shiny new cameras that they built for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. That would be my hope, but we'll see. I mean, because they're obviously going all out with this, aren't they? They're obviously trying to throw everything they can to make a cinematic experience. So let's for me, let's get them on the biggest possible screen.
God, I hope it works. I really hope it isn't, because their full film flop is a big flop.
Can you
but
imagine
I'm sure it'll be
if the
great.
first one
Good
flops?
luck to them.
But also, which Beatle do you go
to...
first with? How do you decide which Beatle?
I think John Lennon. I think you have to go with the biggest one, no?
Yeah, possibly.
Is John Lennon the biggest?
Well, that's the internet war rages. But of course, because it was Paul McCartney's. No, of course it was John's band. Yeah, so John got Paul to join the Quarrymen that became the Beatles. But then Paul and George have known each other longer. They went way back, so
Oh God, good knowledge, James. Okay, this bodes well for our episode about these films. This is going to be great. On a separate but musically related note, have you listened to Lily Allen's new album, James?
No. So what's the tea with that?
Have you not heard anything about it? I've had such a stressful week, but getting me through it has been Lily Allen's album. It's like the Charlie XCX of this year. Okay, we can't even get into it. Anyone listening is going to know what we're talking about. But she's written an album all about her breakup from her husband, who they had an open relationship, which she wasn't happy about. And then it turned out he'd broken all the terms of the arrangement. And the crazy thing is that they did an architectural digest walk around of their house together. And she sings
David
about
Harbour?
that house. She even name checks. Yes. And honestly...
They've broken up. I thought they were...
He betrayed her multiple times. He is a dead meat now. And he's about to start doing promo for Stranger Things, a new series. So it's all very interesting timing. The house that was in the architectural video is now on the market. This is really off-piece, but it's very much in my brain. And because you love Charlie XCX so much last year, you were having your Brat Summer, I kind of wanted... I thought this might intrigue you because it's because the whole album you've got to listen to from start to finish.
Oh, there's a narrative. This is clearly connected with you much more than Charlie XCX was, which I know left you a little bit cold, really. So this one's working for you a bit more.
You know what? It made me think that probably with Charlie XCX, I should have given it another go, because when I first listened to Lily's, the lyrics were so whoa, because she's talking very bluntly about everything that happened. It's like, oh my God, hits you in the gut. But I wasn't really connecting with the music. But then I gave it another listen, and then I was completely sold, and I love every song. And she's now a genius, when I never really was a big fan for. Anyway, this is very much a sidebar. We're moving on, guys. We wanted to talk about heist movies. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
I need to public service announcement. I'm sorry we didn't do an episode last week. That's on me. Had a crazy weekend. I can't even, guys, house moves. You know what it's like. There was a lot going on, but we really wanted to talk about Kelly Reichardt's The Mastermind that was released in cinemas a couple of weeks ago.
You don't look like cops.
See, James, we've been told that you're mixed up in this robbery.
I sure don't know how you got down this road, but you got the wrong idea. I'm afraid you got some bad information.
I sure do appreciate that once in a blue moon, someone I know and love is gonna come along and blow my mind.
Well, what do you say we stop talking about it for now, because I find it kind of upsetting.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
James, you saw it this week. What did you think?
Yeah. So just a couple of days ago. Yeah. I didn't know much what to expect about it. I've seen Meek's Cut Off, so I like Kelly Reichardt. I think she's an interesting filmmaker. She makes films that remind me very much of 1970s Hollywood films. They feel very much of a piece from that era. And she spends years making each film, getting together a tiny budget to pull these off. She shoots on film. She's a real true warrior of cinema. She does all the things that tick my filmmaker book. I'm here for it. So shoots single camera, shoots on film. So I was very interested to see this one.
Am I sensing a but?
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where I couldn't tell, because we were just talking earlier. I was a bit it's been a bit of a busy week, right? So the end of the day, I went to a late screening, so it was like 8:00, and I just felt it was maybe a little bit slow. But then I was also more tired than I've ever been. So I was just thinking this would pull me in more if it was snappier. But I think that's the whole point of this. It's a very kind of like slow burn, kind of smoky, kind of even visually, it all looks just a little washed out. Kind of, it's got its own vibe. I just think I was a touch too tired for the vibe.
The thing is, I think it definitely is a slow-moving movie. This is why I was kind of interested in talking about it in terms of heist movies, because you can call it a heist movie. There is definitely a heist at the start of the movie. The film, just to give you a quick plot summary, no spoilers, but it stars Josh O'Connor and Alana Haim, actually. Great to see her in another movie.
She's great. She's like the ultimate. She just looks like she belongs in the 1970s. You cast her and you totally buy it.
It's so true. Yeah, she's definitely of that decade. So it's set in the 1970s, and Josh O'Connor and Alana Haim are a married couple, and Josh plays someone called James, and he basically orchestrates a heist of a local art museum. It's quite clear that it's not like the Louvre, which we'll come back to later. And then basically the film follows the fallout of that. And so on the one hand, it is technically, I guess you could say a heist movie, right? Because it hits certainly some of the the marks. Like, there is a plan, a team is gathered together, it is executed. But then because the film very much focuses on the fallout of it and it all going wrong, and it's definitely not the thing with heist movies, right? Is part of their kind of absurdity is you're very much on the side of the robbers. These people you're watching someone commit a crime, but you're rooting for them. You want them to win. Yeah. And I think a big part of that is that it's stealing money from the rich or jewels from there's no victim that is identified. It very much tends to glamorize the notion of robbing people or institutions. And in this, there's an indirect victim because you see how the knock-on effect to Josh O'Connor's family in the film and to himself, what this does to his own life, is very much grounded in reality, right? Because it feels like this is actually what would happen if you did this. Yeah. In a very slow way.
That's exactly it. It's like the least glamorous, most grounded version of what might happen if you did try and pull off, or at least if you were not a career criminal, because that's the point, is it? This guy's not a career criminal. He has an idea that he just kind of works up, but he's not built for the lifestyle. He's not built, and so I think if you live in the criminal world, you have a network of contacts who could help you out in a tight spot. He doesn't have any of that. He's just scrabbling around with what he does have, which is friends and relatives, and everybody having a pretty quiet life, and he just kind of disrupts that by this plan, which essentially hinges on the security at the place that he's robbing just not being very good, So it's not even the world's smartest. I mean, it doesn't have to be that smart, but it's just everything's very straightforward.
Yeah, it's true. This is a series of people doing a bad job, really. Starting with the guard in the gallery, and then finishing with the protagonist, with James, with Josh O'Connor's character. like he did not think this through. I thought it was quite amusing, really, that the film came out around the same time as the break-in at the Louvre. It seemed like this would be great marketing.
Fortuitous. Great timing, yeah, absolutely.
And it did kind of make me just think more broadly, because I think the thing with that break-in at the Louvre, I'm sure there were people, of course, who were horrified. But I think actually most of us who heard about it were slightly amused, because it seemed so kind of outlandish, the fact that they drove this vehicle-mounted extendable ladder up to the window and smashed the window, and they had their workman jackets. In a way, it does kind of make me think of the Mastermind, because it is very much like relying on the fact that the security was lax there, and there's work going on at the Louvre, so we can pretend to be one of those. That will probably work. Like almost a bit the Italian Job and how it was all kind of set up, and people do find that amusing. I was listening to an interview with an expert a sort of private detective whose his expertise is in heists and like getting back stolen artworks and these sorts of things. And he talked about how these days criminals, they'll think about the more outlandish their crime is, the better chance they have, even if they get caught, of then selling the rights for a memoir or a film script. So actually, criminals are keeping adding this in because they know what a sell it is to audiences. People love to hear about heists, and they love the genre. I think, especially when there's no specific victim, so it's
it's not a crime where people are getting injured or physically, or at least the ones that kind of capture the public attention. They usually don't involve the a physical assault against a member of the public. Really, it's all stealing fancy goods basically, and so it allows it to be a little bit more romanticized, I suspect.
So should we talk a little bit about the heist movie as a genre? What are some of the crucial elements, James, for a heist movie?
Well, I think the kind of, when it comes down to brass tacks, the heist movies, we like to see, I think, just as humans, we like seeing well-executed plans, or we like to see how a well-executed plan goes awry and then how you handle it. And so a heist is that is the meat, and that's the heart of a good heist, isn't it? Is that it's not just about the heist itself. A heist movie, we have to see the planning stage, or at least we have to know what the plan is, so we always have like a discussion of, right, well, this is what we're doing, so it's all laid out to the audience, so we're aware of what should happen, and then of course the tension is watching it execute, seeing where it starts to go wrong. So that to me is the element. Then within that, there's a whole bunch of subsections like recruiting the gang, for your heist, getting the people together, the twists and turns that happen.
And it being one who's an expert in cracking codes, another one who's like a maths whiz who's going to be able to figure out the vault.
That's it. And there's always a weakest link. Who's the weakest link that's going to fuck things up? And in the Mastermind, it's like the link's broken from the get-go without trying to, it's like it doesn't get off to a good start, and it kind of deteriorates essentially from there.
Yeah, I have to say, what I loved about it was that it was very slow paced, right? But I really loved the kind of slow humor of it. There's a lot of sort of physical humor, various moments where things went slightly wrong and nothing is said. There's really not much dialogue at all in the film.
No.
But just watching how it plays out very, very slowly is very amusing.
I mean, that's the thing, is that, like, for me, that's why I was a bit cautious with my butt. It's more that I was just kind of tired. It was a bit late. So it was actually quite nice. I was kind of like not quite going to sleep. I don't know, no one wants to go sleep in the cinema, but I was just like, it was quite soothing. So I certainly think in another frame of mind, the slowness wasn't an issue, whereas here I was like, oh God, I could fall asleep in the cinema here. But it wouldn't have worked if it was faster. It would have ruined the whole charm of the film. That's the other point to make, I think, is it has to be this pace for the film to be what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, back to the more like typical heist, because I think the thing with the Mastermind is it's very much a like twist on the typical heist movie, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a French heist movie that I think is kind of known for kind of setting the kind of rules of the genre, which is Rififi, that features, I think it's around about a 40-minute long extended heist sequence, which is almost entirely in silence. And of course, that was a clear reference for Brian De Palma's first Mission Impossible, where there's the Langley heist, where Tom Cruise breaks into a computer server room, and it's clearly a complete homage to Rififi, even down to the fact that you can't make any sound, otherwise that will give the game away. So I think that's so this kind of almost silent movie making techniques, where it's visual storytelling, visual tension. I think that is a purely cinematic device that this makes these films interesting. And the fact is, you can go with the genre in different places. Like, for example, Inception, very much a heist movie. There's clear heists going on there, but completely genre bending, like this kind of exploration of non-linear storytelling and time, but it's wrapped up inside a heist movie. In fact, I noticed non-linear storytelling is quite common in heist movies. I mean, you got Stanley Kubrick's The Killing.
Now, one move out of any one of you, and I'm going to start firing. You, fill that bag up just as fast as you know how.
Which, again, is a non-linear storytelling. So also, it suits different ways of telling stories, because by being non-linear, you can kind of show, oh, this person isn't who you think he is. You can hop around and make the whole heist and its fallout much more interesting.
And by the way, until I saw your list of heist movies, I didn't know Stanley Kubrick had made a heist movie in 1956. I mean, I'd say, one of the early ones, right?
It's one of those very early ones. That's the one that kind of set him on his path. So it was like very much a B movie, but it's a Stanley Kubrick B movie. It's worth a watch, but it's much more populist, much more accessible than his later work. But it was that early work that got him kind of going. He knew how to play the game. He knew that he just needed to churn out some nice popular hits before he kind of starts making the stuff he really wants to make. That's the impression you get.
And on the subject of kind of heist movies that subvert the genre, I had to shout out Reservoir Dogs.
Okay, let's go through what happened. Okay, we're in the place, everything's going fine. Then the alarm gets tripped. I turn around and all these cops are outside. You're right, it was like, damn, I blink my eyes and they're there. Everybody starts going apeshit. Then Mr. Blonde starts to shoot all the in.
That's not correct.
What's wrong?
Okay, the cops did not show up after the alarm went off. Right, the cops didn't show up until after Mr. Blonde started shooting everybody.
As soon as I heard the alarm, I saw the
No,
cops.
man, I'm telling you, it wasn't that soon, okay? They didn't let their presence be known until after Mr. Blonde became a madman, all right? I'm not saying they weren't there. I'm saying they were there. But they didn't make their move until after Mr. Blonde started shooting everybody. I mean, that's how I know we were set up.
Tarantino's 1992 movie, because
Naughty.
You don't see the heist. You just see a meal before the heist, and then you see the aftermath of it. And I thought, for me, like, the simplicity of that, I mean, it's a very classic, like, early auteur filmmakers, like, thing, right? To keep...
Oh, yeah, make it a part of make it a feature, not a bug.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. You're right. Exactly. It does. It makes the minimal sets very much the feature. And then you're just there with the dialogue and the interaction between the cast. It's really, really well done. So I really, really love that movie. But to kind of veer back to kind of the classic heist movies, I really have to shout out The Italian Job, because this this is a movie I first watched as a child, so I have like a very fond association with it. Of a friend of mine whose parents were great lovers of Italy. They just loved Italy, and so it's almost it seemed like very much in keeping with that. They had this film on tape, so we watched it together. And it's funny because this movie came out in 1969, so like you would think quite early on in the kind of genre of heist movies, but already in that film it seems to be very much like playing with the tropes, poking fun. They do assemble this team, but it's a very oddball, like, motley crew, and everything about it is kind of played for laughs, even though it also is very much leading into the kind of glamour and like romanticization and glamorization of criminality, basically. But it's just, I think, a perfect mix of, you're very much invested. They lay out the plot and you're excited to see it executed. And then you have these really exciting chase scenes, that amazing car chase scene through Rome. And then we finish with like what I think is definitely the best ending of any film in like cinema history. The perfect end.
A literal cliffhanger. The literal cliffhanger.
But we'll say no more than that in case you haven't seen it.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
And then, of course, I think Inception, you could say this is definitely true of, but also with Ocean's 11, because you have a gang that you put together, it's an opportunity for a bigger budget film to have like a really starry ensemble cast. So you've got built into it, you've got this set of characters who are going to pull off the heist, so you can populate that with big name stars. And Ocean's 11, I would say, is like the modern day. I mean, it's a remake of a Rat Pack era film, which had Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. I've forgotten a couple of other people. Anyway, but it's a remake of that, which in itself was like a star vehicle. So it's an excellent way of just putting a lot of face on screen. So it gives you that feeling of seeing something a little bit special when you see all these famous faces on screen. So a heist movie is a perfect way to package that
I think it's generally considered the heist movie, right? Ocean's 11.
I have a question. Say we get into the cage and through the security doors there and down the elevator we can't move and past the guards with the guns and into the vault we can't open.
Without being seen by the cameras.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, well, say we do all that. We're just supposed to walk out of there with $150 million in cash on us without getting stopped?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Even though, it's relatively contemporary to various other ones, it does sort of like hit those kind of archetypes of the genre well. And yeah, I think it's probably my favorite of Steven Soderbergh's films, I think, just because it is.
What?
Yeah, it's fun. I love it.
What? You can't just slide that hot take in.
Is that crazy? Obviously, Magic Mike is iconic.
I just feel like, have you watched, oh my God, I forgot the name of the film now.
Am I crazy? Because, I'm forgetting loads of, amazing movies of his. I think... No, I'm not. I'm looking through. I'm standing by. I'm standing by what I said.
You're not fancying replacing that with the Girlfriend Experience?
I've never seen The Girlfriend Experience. Is that any good? I heard that wasn't that good. Sorry.
No,
sorry,
I don't
Stephen.
think it's that good.
No, I'm completely standing by what I say. Behind the Candelabra is a banger for sure, and Magic Mike is fabulous, but
Traffic. Sorry, for example, Traffic.
I've not seen Traffic. So okay, I'm not speaking from a place of information.
It was his film before Ocean's 11, so I think because it did quite well critically and all that kind of stuff, I think Traffic got Ocean's 11.
Gotcha. Okay, well maybe I'll come back to that.
And the limey, gee whiz, yeah, come on, yeah. So,
okay, I'm revealing. Maybe I should never have made that statement because I've clearly not watched enough of his films. But come on, it's just let's be honest. Steven Soderbergh, he makes he loves a big, exciting, shiny movie. I think.
No, Steven Soderbergh is a small, tiny films auteur director who just wears the clothing of big budget films. I mean, even with Ocean's 11, he made it like a scrappy indie movie because he shot it himself. He didn't have a cinematographer, so to save time and money, so they could pay the cast more, he kind of shot it. So he's a little indie feature guy at heart. That's my take.
Okay, fine, but he does get because I mean, look, his most recent movie was Black Bag. Let's be real. This is what he does well, but you're right. Maybe that's why they work so well, because he brings his sort of indie sensibility to them.
I think that's exactly why they were a success, because he does that. Because I mean, you've got to think he worked with George Clooney on Out of Sight, which I do love. I know we've talked about on the show, and of course it's kind of that character almost again in Ocean's 11. So he kind of brought the energy that he gave to George Clooney to a bigger mainstream blockbuster. Yeah, and I suspect that's why the actors like working with him, because he's a cool indie director rather than just some kind of big corporate machine director.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. And I want to do one last shout out. It seems like we need to mention it every week because we did talk about it last week. But Heat, come on. It doesn't hit every single archetype of the genre, but I think it's one of the best. For bringing the so exciting. Love the planning out and there being a really strong kind of subplot of who the men are behind the heist, which not all heist movies really dive into. I love.
No, yeah, you're quite right. It's funny, wasn't it? Because you mentioned the other week, you said about how it's one of the best action films ever made. But in my mind, I never think of it as an action film.
Yeah.
Although it has incredible action sequence. Yeah, no, exactly. Because it all works as part of the story. The story doesn't stop for a pointless action scene. It's all tightly pulled together. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so good, so good. Now, as we have discussed, and I'm sure you're aware, this past weekend was Halloween. But did you know that this year is the 50th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
I definitely did not know. I did not know at all.
I've actually been aware of it all year. And
wow,
because we took this break, so the actual anniversary was in August, and they did some screenings and re-releases around that time, special screenings and stuff. but because we weren't recording then, I thought it's okay. Let's just wait for Halloween, because it's actually also the perfect Halloween movie, especially if you like things a bit camp and you are easily scared. Because it's a lot of things, but it's a movie with horror in the title that really is not a horror. So perfect for that. But, you know, something I didn't know until doing my research for this is that this not only are there screenings, there have been screenings this weekend of the movie, and there were, as I said, in summer. Actually, this film has never left the cinemas since 1976. It is the longest running movie in cinemas.
Wow. I didn't fully appreciate that, to be honest, but yeah, that makes sense now you say it. It's never stopped, has it?
Yeah.
Like, because my you know, when I was at university in the 90s, it was still one of the big things to do was when Rocky Horror came touring into your area, you get dressed up and go see the Rocky Horror Show. That was in the 90s, and that's still, to some degree, still going, really. I mean, it's kind of evolved now into more people go to the cinema showings. I mean, the first time I ever saw it was about 7 or 8 years ago at the Prince Charles at one of their sing-along Rocky Horror Show nights. That was my first experience watching the film. I bloody loved it.
Did you dress up?
I did, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Like I was going through a funny phase of my life, you know, where the dress-up era had kind of gone, and it was a bit like, yeah, it wasn't great. So the answer is yes, but not really. I should have said no. You know, no, I didn't address it.
I love it because, as we saw on Instagram this week, you definitely did have your dress-up era. Capes are plenty.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was kind of after that era, and there was like a bit of almost like a rebalance. It went too far the other way. So yeah. So anyway.
Well, I watched it when I was at well, the first time I watched it was with my parents when I was probably like 10 years old. My dad is a huge Rocky Horror fan. In fact, he saw so originally Rocky Horror was a play in London, and my dad saw it as a play with Tim Curry as Dr. Frankenfurter.
Oh, wow.
Because the movie's cast, apart from Brad and Janet, the rest of the cast were all in that play. The director's the same,
right.
The screenwriter is the same for the film and the play. They literally just took everyone on a jolly to make this movie. It's kind of amazing. So my dad has been a fan since the beginning, which is definitely, I think, one of my favorite things about my dad, because, you know, he's an economic historian, married to a lovely woman. You know, you might think on paper that he would not be interested in seeing a sweet transvestite Dr. Frankenstein-esque character, but he loves it.
Great.
And so that kind of started my love of it, which I then shared with my friends at school. And then when we were at university, a group of us went to see it. I believe it was in Oxford was where we got tickets to go, and they did a screening, but also they did what's called the shadow play at the front. So from quite early on in the screenings in America of the film, you'd have people acting out, like miming everything that's happening in the movie on the stage in front.
Right.
So not only are people in
right.
costume watching the movie and shouting along and saying things at different points, there's also people acting the full thing out, which I think my dad also saw, actually.
I didn't know about that bit.
Yeah. So I went to a screening that did that, and I went as Columbia. So I had like sequin shorts on and a top hat and a little like jacket. And my friend Mike went in full Dr. Frankenfurter costume. His mum even sewed him a sort of quasi corset to wear. And he had like massive heels he bought online. He looked, and he's a tall guy as well. So he really like embodied the character. It was incredible.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I feel like, okay, we're jumping right into like the experience of seeing the movie, but maybe we should just like rewind slightly to what it is in case you've not seen Rocky Horror. James, do you want to give a plot summary of the movie if you can?
Well, it kind of the film sets its tone kind of from the off. As I remember, it's almost like as if it's like a 1950s, 60s kind of rock and roll B-movie broadcast. It kind of sets up that's what you're watching, and it is. It's like the ultimate B-movie made with such love for like horror films, for musical cinema. You know, there's a lot of, you can see Richard O'Brien's kind of passions clearly on display here. And yeah, trying to actually remember the plot. To me, that's not the thing I remember the most about Rocky Horror Picture Show. So Brad and Janet are this all-American sweethearts who somehow stumble across Dr. Frankenfurter's like mansion and essentially are kind of seduced to some degree by the goings on there, and it's all about, I don't know, doing the time warp and being a sweet transvestite. I don't know. I mean, I think that's the best plot summary I can give you, Lily. I'm sorry, that's it.
I think you've nailed it. I feel like that's all you really need to know. Yeah, we start with Brad and Janet, and Janet is played by Susan Sarandon, and a very young Susan Sarandon who is fantastic as the Brad swooning kind of lead woman, I guess, in the part. And then Barry Brostwick played Brad, who I never saw in anything else, but he is so good. In particular, I really love his transformation, because at the start he's this very kind of uptight, square kind of young guy with, you know, who he talks about, there's a motorbike driving past them when they're in the car, and he said, life's pretty cheap for people like those. You know, he's really kind of the very kind of all-American, like you said, 50s archetype of like the very uptight young man. And then by the end, he, as well as everyone else, I don't think this is a spoiler, I don't think it ruins anything to know this, ends up in a corset and fishnets himself, heels, and he has, you know, he puts his leg up high in the air, does the splits. He's just incredible. So, I mean, yeah, the plot is very much not the most important thing. I think it is, like you said, like it was written by Richard O'Brien, who was an out of work actor. And in 1973, he said just to pass cold nights in London when he didn't have any money, he began writing some songs with the idea of making a musical. And then he met Jim Sharman, who's a director, was directing plays, and together they put on the Rocky Horror Musical, which immediately became a bit of a hit, and ran for like many years after. And then kind of amazingly, the following year were given the opportunity to make it into a movie. 20th Century Fox kind of gave them that opportunity. I found it very interesting to read that at one point, Mick Jagger's team approached them and asked if they could buy the rights, because Mick Jagger wanted to play Dr. Frankenfurter. And thank God Jim Sharman said to Richard O'Brien, no way, we can't do it, because if we sell them the rights, we don't get to make it ourselves. And for Richard O'Brien, he never thought they would be allowed to do it themselves anyway. So it wasn't really, it didn't even come into his mind. But they did. They were allowed, as I said, to like bring the whole crew from the cast and crew from the play and make it. And thank God, because Tim Curry is Dr. Frankenfurter. I've never seen anyone more charismatic and more incredible in this part.
Yeah. I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania.
I mean, like my first experience of Tim Curry as an actor was like in his later acting career. So to see him in Frankenfurter just completely inhabit the role, completely against what I'd seen him in his later kind of just more serious dramatic roles, or kind of silly but like toothless, I would say his later stuff is. Whereas this is like there's a bit of danger to it. It's sexy as hell. It's like complete confidence, that performance.
And like, just to get into some of the things that were like incredibly remarkable and transgressive, I mean, and I feel kind of still are today, even watching it today, it's like, wow, this is a musical about a couple discovering a lair where a evil scientist, Frankenstein type person is also, as he self-identifies, a transvestite, bisexual. He seduces both Brad and Janet. And we also see Janet go on this, like, huge sexual awakening from what we understand, being a virgin before to, we end up with a group of them in a pool together, all in stockings. It's just like, is it any wonder that it became this, like, cult movie for the queer community. You know, I've read so many things from doing this research about like people talking about how they found their people. They felt like they weren't alone when they watched this movie, and going to see, no wonder this film carried on being screened ever since, because people would go and find a community of people like them, because this film really is showing people who are outcasts finding each other and celebrating. There's no shame. There's no, there's, you know, you go into this and they're very celebratory of who they are. And, you know, the more eccentric, the better. And it's so kind of electric to see. And whilst always having this kind of very B movie, like you said, like makeshift sensibility, which, I don't know, it just sort of adds to the charm of the whole thing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like setting it as a B movie because it's got a limited budget. I don't know, it works really well because it totally feels like a really good B movie. So it kind of plays to its strength, the fact that it wasn't the biggest budget production. It kind of, the two things work hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely. And just, I mean, great songs.
Absolute bangers. I mean,
yeah. Which is your favourite?
Oh, I mean, you got me there, Lily. I mean, I don't know. Just because I just remember just being at the Prince Charles, and every time a song kicked in, you know, the strobe lights went off. There was a disco ball, confetti. I think we had like silver confetti come down occasionally.
Oh my
I can't
God,
remember.
amazing.
I remember every song. That's what happened. So like you completely, like the adrenaline rush. You know, it was a lot of fun. I mean, Time Warp, it's a classic. You know, I want to give a deeper cut, but I can't. You know, it's like I think Time Warp might be
There's one that I really love, which, Hot Patootie. I love that song. But like, I'm actually now looking, I just Googled a list of the songs and it's not even listed here. And to be honest, you know, the final third is a bit of a mess. Like, what is even happening? Maybe one too many songs. Like there's a lot of there are many musical numbers and it's a little unclear as to where we're going or what's happening with the narrative, but it doesn't really matter. It just sort of adds to it. It's very much, by that point in the night, it's very much the background to your party, I think. And that it suits that role, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't realize there was a somewhat sequel. Apparently it's like more a follow-up than a sequel using the same creative team.
Yeah, Shock Treatment. I actually have that on DVD.
Wow!
But believe it or not, I have it. The family home has it. I think we got it for my dad as a present at some point when I heard that there was a sequel. But I'm not sure if they watched it. I've actually never seen it. I mean, I'm intrigued. Apparently,
it's interesting because it says that it's Brad and Janet are the same characters. So the two fictional characters from Rocky Horror transfer over. I mean, I'm just reading the kind of the details here. Interesting, but you know, it clearly didn't have the same impact. Very much forgotten.
Yes, apparently it didn't really work, like Richard O'Brien said. I wasn't super happy with it. But it's about an America enslaved by reality TV run by a megalomaniac. I mean, prophetic, if not maybe successful as a film.
Did Shock Treatment predict the future?
Would there have been a Donald Trump if it wasn't for Shock Treatment and Rocky Horror? Maybe not.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. We can pinpoint the nexus shift where everything went wrong to 1981 Shock Treatment.
Well, as we said, it's its 50th anniversary. So, guys, if you can, I would strongly recommend getting yourself into some fishnets and a corset and going and seeing Rocky Horror, because the kind of communal experience of watching this film is really something special.
Yeah.
And it is, if you like a musical, I mean, honestly, I'm not like the biggest musical fan, but these songs are darn catchy. So the music is serious. Everything else is a joke. So it's really worth seeing. Go check it out if you can.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I say, it's a communal experience. It's right up there. It's excellent.
Okay, so should we finish up with a little recommendation?
Absolutely. Yes, let's do it. So, I was looking through the listings of what's coming up, and I think we both came across the fact that it's the 25th anniversary of Dogma.
Yeah.
The only Kevin Smith film I've seen more than once, I think would be the best way to summarise that.
Yeah, I'm not. I actually don't know if I've seen any other Kevin Smith movie. Maybe I have, but yeah, he's not my favorite director. I'm with you on that, James.
Not mine, but like in the 90s, like everybody I knew loved Kevin Smith, and I felt like a real outsider, an outcast by just not rating him at all. But
and going to see Rocky Horror instead,
right? I just think like time has proven me right, and I think but I quite like Dogma. I've got a big soft spot for it, so I'm quite glad to see it's back in cinemas.
I love Dogma. If I was going to like pinpoint films that I associate with family members, okay, so Rocky Horror is my dad's movie.
Is this your mum's?
No, no. My mum is a good practicing Protestant Church of England goer. This is not. I mean, and actually, the film is actually very pro-religion. So I think that isn't necessarily it's actually my older sister. My older sister was the one who got it on like, I believe, video, perhaps it was DVD by that point. But she loved this movie, and we really enjoyed watching it together because, yeah, it's this very funny kind of almost road movie, right, with like a gathering of a motley crew on this mission, but it's all about religion. And it's like, it's funny because it pokes fun at particularly like Christianity and the Bible's version of events, but it also is actually like very pro-faith.
Oh yeah, Kevin Smith said it was like a love letter to his faith.
Yeah, which is a very unusual pairing, and you would think wouldn't really work, but it really does work.
It does. Like I say, I love it. Like I've rewatched it multiple times, and I always have a blast with it. But I don't know. For me, it's his one film where whatever his style is, whatever kind of films he likes to make, this is the one that worked for me. And Linda Fiorentino as well. He's like such a great straight woman for Jay and Silent Bob. Such a good, like the chemistry there works really well.
Yes. It's, I mean, Alan Rickman playing the Metatron. Amazing.
Yeah.
And
Great.
We've got
so deadpan.
And we've got Chris Rock as Rufus, one of the 12 is it 12 apostles or 13 apostles? God. I think 12 apostles, but he was the 13th that was written out because of racism.
Yeah, he delivers some of the best lines in the film, does Chris Rock, like absolute zingers. Yeah.
And Matt Damon playing Loki, I want to say. Yes, Matt Damon plays Loki. I mean, come on. And I won't even spoil it by telling you who Alanis Morissette plays, but you've got to watch to the end to see that, because as a huge Alanis Morissette fan, it made perfect sense to me, that final reveal, perfect ending to a movie as well, and just perfection, no notes.
It's completely silly comedy, but like for me, it's the one Kevin Smith I'm okay with. So yes, I recommend that. If I can squeeze it in, I'd like to see it. I know this is a Q&A attached to this as well, so I wonder if there's going to be a live link up with Kevin Smith at the end of the screening.
I'm sorry to tell you it's pre-recorded, but that.
How can it be a pre-recorded Q&A? I can't ask my cues.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe I'm wrong, but from what I gather, this was a Q&A that was done because it's already been out in the US. This kind of re-release, like the marketing as Dogma Resurrected, and yeah, there was, I think, perhaps at the first screening or something, there was a Q&A which is then being shown at the start with Kevin Smith. So. Yeah, I mean, there's something for the fans who already know and love the film and want to hear a bit about how it was made and its legacy. I'm sure that would be like worth a watch. But it's coming to the UK and Ireland this week. So from Friday, the 7th of November, you can see that in cinemas across the country. So yeah, check it out.
And also, I think another thing to mention, actually, I just recalled is that Dogma has been notoriously difficult to stream online. It's one of the films that has that went to the streaming graveyard, where suddenly films get pulled and it's just there's nowhere else to see it legally, at least. And so, I mean, one that I've come across recently is bloody Bottoms, the follow-up to Shiva Baby. That's just, you cannot buy it on physical
media,
and you cannot stream it. And you can, it's a great film, and you cannot stream it on Amazon Prime, even though Amazon funded it. It's their film, and they've pulled it off their own. So anyway, so Dogma for years was in that kind of thing for all the various rights issues and just a lot of things. It just fell through the cracks. So this is also a response to that, to try and get it out in the cinemas where where it's meant to be seen.
Yeah, so try and catch that if you can. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Groovy Movies.
And as always, if you can leave us a like or a nice review, it all helps us get out into the wider world. Thank you.
So we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Groovy Movies is produced and edited by us, Lily Austin and James Brailsford. And James also produced the theme music.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Groovy Movies Pod, or email us groovymoviespod@gmail.com.
For more information about the films discussed, check out the show notes.